A year ago, after the TARP funds were released, my guest today, Lynn Tilton, CEO of Patriarch Partners, put out a piece in the New York Times and the Washington Post. She called it a clarion call to rebuild America, saying, quote, "The truth is that the losses in our financial markets are too enormous to be healed simply by bailing out the debts of our banking institutions." So Lynn, fast forward, obviously, to this week. We have Citigroup paying back the TARP funds. Bank of America has done the same. There's a sense on Wall Street that the banking system has healed. Is that a misconception?
Look, at one point in time, we had lost $14 trillion of household income, and we still have unemployment calculated at 10%. But really, with U6, we're closer to 30 million American people without jobs. So I don't think that we're all healed. I think that the big banks, the TARP-infused banks, were the beneficiaries of over $10 trillion of programs, and they've been trading their way and locking in profits to get them a long way forward. I don't think that everything's, finished for them, but at the same time, we've left our small and mid-sized businesses behind, and we've left our American people behind. So I don't know how we can say that the hole in the gap is filled.
Right, so you use a $10 trillion figure, and a lot of us have been focusing on the $700 billion TARP funds. Obviously, it's much bigger than that. It's all the programs the Fed has been doing to help out these banks. Can they walk on their own now at this point? Can the Fed take those programs away?
I don't think so. And I don't think when we look at TARP money being paid back, we don't look at the Fed guarantee and free money windows being shut down. I do think that this year, using that money and being able to lock in a lot of risk-free trading with leverage has helped the banking system heal. And look, I'm a believer that we need a healthy banking system. At the same time, we didn't let that money trickle down to where we needed, to small and mid-sized businesses, which employ 80% of our workforce. And so, this does not an economy make. I don't believe in a jobless recovery. If American people are suffering, then we don't have something that is, will be able to withstand the test of time in terms of growth and recovery.
Right, so you have a specific plan of how we can create jobs in this country, which we'll talk about in detail in a minute, but the president on Monday met with some of the CEOs of some of the biggest banks in an effort to start getting them to lend again and start helping to create jobs. What should he have said, or should he have not even had the meeting in the first place? Was it all just a waste of time and a photo op?
Well, the question is, what is he going to ask for? They should never have allowed TARP funds to go out without any mandate to lend. Just the feeling that when banks got healthy, this would all trickle down quickly enough, was somewhat idealistic. I mean, with that money, there should have been some strings attached, but there weren't. And so the question becomes is, will these banks now put money into a program that actually does small business and mid-sized business rescue lending? Because people say demand is down, but the reality is that the kind of demand they'd like to see of healthy companies might be down, but if you've been starved for capital for 18 or 24 months, you're not the kind of loan that a bank is going to make and the regulators are going to bless.
Right, so one of the things that seems to come out of the meeting is that the banks are going to adopt what they're calling a second look provision on if a business comes to them for a loan and they're rejected, they'll give them a second look and maybe to find a way if they can give them the money. And I guess the concern out there is that the banks are going to lend to non-credit-worthy borrowers, and we're going to be back here again with this problem of bad lending to people who can't pay the money back.
Well, first of all, I don't believe in making bad loans, but I do believe that there are loans that can, high risk, high reward loans that can be made secured by assets that banks don't really make, which is why, I believe these are loans that the private sector needs to be made to make with some incentives from the government. And that's why I always, wanted to mix a PPIP, private-public investment partnership, with, TARP funds to leverage it, to get the private sector to make those high-risk loans that will keep companies alive. So many companies have liquidated over the last 18 months, which is why over 40% of our unemployed are at plus 27 weeks. Nowhere to go.
Right. So as you said before, this does not an economy make. There's a sense out there, again, on Wall Street from here that, there's still problems on Main Street, but Wall Street, we fix it. Is it your view, though, that the crisis is over on Wall Street?
No. It's not my view that the crisis is over on Wall Street. The stock market reflects one thing. There's a lot of trading that goes on, too. You short the dollar, you buy the market.
Right.
A lot of funds move the market. Europe is showing huge weakness. We have the Middle East, Dubai, and the surrounding areas that are showing weakness. And frankly, 70% of our economy is consumer spending. So if you've got high unemployment and a populace of the permanently unemployed, you can't have a recovery.